Welcome to day 5 of Stepdad's 5-day challenge. I hope the streaming is going out. If looks like it might be slow connecting, so I'm going to give it just a second. Okay, looks like we're there now. I've got to mute that so I don't hear myself again and welcome you back. If you're here, congratulations. You've been here for all 5 days of the 5-day challenge. So congratulations to you. An even bigger congratulations if you've done the challenge every day. I hope you've done the challenge action every day. Today, we're going to kind of put it all together, wrap it up, summarize, and particularly I call today's becoming the man that you can be, becoming the dad that you didn't have, assuming being a dad is something you want to do. And I hope it is, because you're going to have more fulfillment in life in your own family than you will in any other aspect of your life. I do this channel primarily for young men that have grown up without a dad because I think there's a big need for that. And also because that's how I grew up. So I can relate to those challenges. I know how hard it can be. I also know that without going through the work and the effort and without some guidance, unfortunately, you're set up to repeat the same mistakes that you've experienced in your own family, in your own life. And if you don't want that, then I would love for you to have a path out of that so that you can have some of the experiences that you didn't have growing up with your dad as a dad yourself. Now, I know not everyone's circumstances are the same as mine. My parents split up before I was born, divorced when I was 2, and dad lived a couple states away. That was my scenario. There's a lot of other scenarios. You could have a dad that died early and you didn't have him because he passed away. And that's different than what I went through. Now, you might have a dad or have had a dad that was abusive, which is even worse than what I went through in terms of an absentee father. All of those cases make it tough for you to figure out what it means to be a man, how to be a good man, and if you want to have a family of your own, how to figure out how to be a good husband and a good father. That's why I wrote the book, The Map to Manhood. Um, that's why we've had this 5-day challenge. If you haven't gotten this graphic yet, you can download this graphic at maptomanhood.org. This is what we've been doing over the course of the 5-day challenge. So let me share my screen and let's get into today. And so my hope today is just to wrap it up together and let you know how you can continue working on these things if that's something you want to do. All right. So what did we do in these challenges? First of all, the first path is a self-discipline path. And we looked at, on day 1, the challenge was to make a list of your regular household tasks that are needed to be done to keep your home in good shape, orderly, clean. To put them on a schedule and then to start living to that schedule. And that's what we call the chores chart. That was based on what my mom did for us when she was raising 5 kids by herself. That's going to help you have not only more order and cleanliness in your home, the real benefits of this are emotional. You're going to feel so much better about yourself and you're going to learn to trust yourself. Those are the benefits of practicing, learning self-discipline. You're going to trust yourself to be able to do things that need to be done, even if you don't want to do them. So that was the challenge. Now that's only one of the milestones on that first path. There's 3 other milestones, 4 milestones total. And but that's the one in a 5-day challenge. I picked one for today or for the week. That's the one I picked because A, you can do it. B, you're going to get a lot of benefits if you just do it. So what was day 2's challenge? Do you remember what that one was? Day 2's challenge, we were focusing on developing your social skills, your ability to have positive relationships with other people. That's what the second path on the map to manhood is all about, is learning social skills or learning how to have relationships and friendships. So day 2's challenge was to think of someone that you have offended and apologize to them. How did that go for you? That's probably, for many of you, my guess is that that was probably the most difficult challenge of the 4 that we've had so far in this 5-day challenge. It's not easy to swallow our pride, to practice some empathy, to put ourselves in their shoes, to understand what they experienced in that interaction that maybe offended them, and then to have the courage to pick up the phone or go to their house and say that I'm sorry. It doesn't mean you're admitting guilt. It doesn't mean that you think you were wrong. Now, maybe you were wrong and you need to admit that to yourself. But whether you were or not, you're going to get so many benefits by apologizing to them that I really hope you did it. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if that was the most challenging of the 5-day challenges for this week. And that was day 2. So on day 3, we were looking inward. We were focusing on you. One of the biggest challenges, I think the biggest challenge of growing up without a dad is what it does to you emotionally. It's hard to love yourself if you feel like your own parents don't love you. Now, hopefully you don't feel that way. But if your dad wasn't in your life or your parents haven't been in your life, then it's going to be pretty darn hard not to feel that way. It might even just be subconscious to you. I didn't even think of this. I didn't realize I had this thought until well into adulthood. But you question your own worth and worthiness if your dad's not in your life or if your parents aren't in your life. If they don't seem to care about you, then as a child, you're going to ask yourself, well, something must be wrong with me. I wonder what's wrong with me that my dad doesn't love me. Well, the challenge action for day 3 was to start working on that. Now, this is just a start. It's a good start. It'll help you. I hope you do it. I hope you did it. But there's a lot of work. And on this third path, this path that I call the love path or learning how to love, that is the biggest challenge that you have to overcome. My opinion, having been raised without my dad in my life. But it can be done. And this is one way you can do it. So I hope you did this. The idea was to write a letter to your 4-year-old self, giving you the counsel that you know he needs at that stage in his life with the benefit of the experience that you have now. You need to tell your 4-year-old version of yourself what he needs to know. And in the process, make sure you express some love for him and to him. If that sounds strange to you, so be it. The good news is you can do that in the quiet of your room. You don't even have to admit to anybody else that you did that. But I hope you'll do that because it will go so far to start breaking down those self-defense mechanisms that your heart has built around it because you're trying to survive emotionally, and it doesn't seem to make sense if your parents don't love you or if your dad doesn't love you. How can you love yourself? So hopefully you did that exercise. That's a big one, and that's just a start. Path 3 has the deepest work to be accomplished in the 4 paths on the map to manhood. All right, day 4, yesterday, we focused on the purpose. What is your purpose in life? When you recognize that you are here for a reason and understand what that reason is, suddenly you've got a direction and a meaning to life that you didn't have before. A lot of people go through life trying to avoid the pain of work or avoid whatever unpleasantness they don't want to have to face, whether that's work, a job, school, education, whatever. It's really easy to get your video game. Oh, mine's right here. It's really easy to get your video game console out and spend a few hours every day um, entertaining yourself, but not living your purpose. If you discover, or when you discover what your purpose is, and that you have one in the first place and what it is, then suddenly you have meaning to your life it will help you face some of those things that you don't want to do because now you're living for something as opposed to avoiding something. I hope that makes sense. So yesterday you were supposed to answer these questions. This was the challenge. Answer these 4 questions. If you bought the toolbox, you got the questionnaire that actually has a few more questions on it, and then answer those. And we're not talking about when I'm 85, this is what I will have done. Life unfolds in chapters. So it was really finding the purpose of the current chapter of your life. Again, hopefully that makes sense. All right. So that's where we've been up to this point on the 5-day challenge. I have made numerous posts on social media about what is the toughest thing for you if you've grown up without your dad. And a common theme that comes through is seeing other kids play with their dads, or not having my dad there at my sporting events when my friends' dads are there cheering them on. Um, my dad wasn't there to help me with my homework. He wasn't there to give me the birds and the bees talk. He wasn't there to help me figure out how to do home repairs or car repairs. I can remember one time that he was in town when I had a lead part in a play at school, and he was there to that one. And I think he might have been there when I graduated from high school too. I mean, he lived 750 miles away, so it wasn't easy for him to do that, but he just wasn't there. I remember getting a phone call from my brother when my dad passed away. And it was strange. I say it was strange because I expected to feel sad, but I almost felt more anger than sorrow. Dad had been, his health had been declining for a number of, well, months at least, if not years. He had a stroke and then he had some heart problems and he'd been in and out of the hospital. One of my older brothers lived near him. At that time, he was in California. I lived in Michigan, so it wasn't close, but our brother that lived by him would give us the updates. And suddenly he's doing better. And then, oh, no, he's back not doing well again. And ultimately, again, it was right around the holidays, I think in 2005. And I got that phone call from my brother saying, well, dad's passed away. And I, it brought to head to me the experiences I didn't have with my dad that would never be because now he was gone. Now, I bring that up because if you have similar feelings like that, then I want to give you some hope. You may not be able to change that. I can't go back in time and play catch with my dad because he's not here. And you can't do that either if your dad's not there. Um, maybe your dad's still here and you've got some opportunities to make some memories with him, in which case I hope you'll do that. But you do have the opportunity to be the dad for your kids that you didn't have while you were growing up. And if that's something you want to do, then I hope you'll take what I'm going to suggest to you next seriously. For starters, get the book, The Map to Manhood, and go through all the milestones on the map to manhood. These are the things that you are most at risk of not getting if you've been raised without your dad in your life. If you want to be the dad that you didn't have, you can't repeat what he did because that won't work. You already know that. If you want to be the dad for your kids, well, guess what? You got to have a mom for your kids too. That relationship is even more important than that with your kids because without that, your kids are going to be stuck having two parents in different places. So you've got to focus on that relationship first. And that's talked about in the Map to Manhood. All right. There's it's a workbook and a lesson book, if that makes sense. It'll teach you how to develop some of these skills that you're at biggest risk of not having developed if you've grown up without your dad. Unfortunately, we're going on probably the second or third generation of fathers raising their kids that didn't have good fathers raising them. So a lot of dads just don't know how to be good dads. If you don't want that to be you, then I want to encourage you to finish these challenges that we've looked at. All right. Let me, there it is. Share screen. Sorry. Okay. So if you want to work through those things yourself, then getting this book and going through the Map to Manhood is the fifth challenge of the 5-day challenges. Now, if you want to do that, then I want to invite you to join me next week. If you think this is something that's going to be good for you. Starting next week, we'll be doing what I call Stepdad's Boot Camp. Next Tuesday, for 8 weeks, we'll go through the 4 milestones on the self-discipline path. So if you can see me in the little corner here, These blue milestones on the self-discipline path are those that we'll be covering in boot camp. I used to do this in 4 weeks, but it was too much change to try to get people to implement in a 4 week period. I mean, I called it boot camp for that reason, but the reality is you're not living in barracks at my house every day, getting me in your face, helping you do these things. Um, so we're going to do it 8 weeks this time. So we're going to do 8 weeks. We'll spend 2 weeks on each milestone, and we're going to work through those so that you can develop those habits, learn some self-discipline. In addition to the chores chart that we've looked at in this one, we're going to also focus on the second milestone, which is health and nutrition, physical fitness. Get an exercise routine down, look at what you're eating, get some better habits of sleep, making sure you're taking care of yourself physically. That almost feels like boot camp, right? I kind of have my boot camp shirt on here. The third milestone on that one is developing your mental muscles, developing yourself educationally. What can you do to develop your mind? If you're spending too much time playing video games, well, I'm going to invite you to maybe dial that back a little bit. Now, because I do live streams playing Rocket League, that I do play at least one video game. Actually, that's the only video game I play. We do like to have board games and other things like that with the family. But if you're spending too much time entertainment as opposed to education, we're going to work on that a little bit. That's the third milestone. And by the way, education can be fun. The fourth milestone in boot camp or on the self-discipline path is the money, dealing with money. So it's going to help you learn how to earn money and how to manage your money. And that's a big thing that a lot of people don't learn. Even if you grew up and your parents were good with money, if they didn't teach you, you might not learn how to do that. Doesn't that sound like a good foundation for you if you want to become the man that you know you could be and the dad that you didn't have? If it is, then I hope you'll join me on boot camp next week. You can go to, and I may not have completely debugged the landing page and the registration process for it, but if you have any issues, email me at info or just email me at dad@mystepdad.org. But go to mystepdad.org/bootcamp and you can learn more about it. All right, whether that's right for you or not, I hope that you'll always remember you can succeed. I know I say that every time that you can succeed, even if your dad's not in your daily life, because you really can. But I don't want to kid you that if you want to become the dad you didn't have, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. But it can be done, and it's worth the effort. By far, it's worth the effort. So I hope you'll always remember that. I hope you know that you do have a dad that loves you. If you've got any questions about anything that we've covered in the 5-day challenge, email me at dad@mystepdad.org. And otherwise, I hope to see you on boot camp if that's a good fit for you. And if it is, then please register for it. Go to mystepdad.org/bootcamp, look into it and register for it. And if you don't need that and you're gonna, then I will see you on the next video. So have a great weekend and let me know, send me an email how your challenge actions have gone for you